Live from the US Grand Prix. F1's roots dates back to before World War II, and like the cars themselves, the sport is evolving with the times. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are just two components added in recent years. Now, to get a sense of how it all ties together, I spoke with the head of marketing at Amazon Web Services and two technical experts at Formula One. Take a listen.
Anything else you want to see or do while you're here?
Formula One is an incredibly data-driven sport. So each car has 120 sensors that produce 1,600 data points every second during a race. And so the teams, the fans, the league are always interested in using that data to get more insights into what's happening in the race. And so what we've been working on with Formula One for the past few years is to help take this data and apply analytics and machine learning to get insights to help fans better understand the race. Like, for example, one of the most important strategy components in a race obviously is when a driver is going to take a pit stop, and there's a lot of debate going back and forth on that. So what the Formula One team's been able to do is to use our technology to train up a model to predict what's the right strategy for when they should take a pit stop, and to show that to the fans in the broadcast to help them understand the race a little bit better.
Rob, just walk us through how big data transforms everything for the teams themselves.
Before the word big data was invented, Formula One had a big data problem. So the teams, there's a constant reliance on the processing and elaboration of that data. So it's not just the collecting of the data and the whole architecture behind how it's collected and normalized and synchronized, but then it's the elaboration, because with any big data, the key problem is getting the answers out of it to add performance, to add value back into the system.
So just give examples of some of the most important data points that, for example, the collaboration with AWS gives the teams.
Well, I mean, one example, which is a really great example, is the undercut. How we use the undercut within Formula One, and it's something which I think is in common parlance within the Formula One community. What is an undercut? But then once you go outside, it's very difficult to explain it. And using timing data, so using timing transponder data and machine learning algorithms, what we've been able to do is not only predict during that whole pit stop period to a very accurate degree of when the cars are going to come in, but also when they're going to emerge. And that's something very difficult. It's a very difficult story for even the commentators to tell. Guys with 10, 20 years experience, if you're not using those key data points, it's a really, really difficult story to tell. And therefore being able to convey that to the fans in some way so they can follow that story and see how it's unfolding in front of them, I think has been it's a major milestone for Formula One.
And Dean, technology is so important for the viewer experience. You have to make sure that people at home watching on TV can sort of almost feel the same level of excitement, intensity, enthusiasm as people who are right here. How do you do that?
Well, going on from what Rob said, Formula One's a really complicated sport to cover. There is, all through the race, there is different tactics that's going on, and it's our job to try and portray that. We have a very diverse viewership as well, so some incredible knowledgeable fans and less knowledgeable, and we need to attract, and appeal to all of those. So we're relying on this data, relying on how we then use that data and portray that to the fans. Like we said, through the race, tactics are changing, and that's not visual. That's not something we can actually show by visual cameras or visual imagery. That is something actually we have to do it in graphics form. And some of the projects that we've undertaken this year is simply, we mentioned the undercut just then. Try and get someone in this paddock to explain the undercut to you. It will take half an hour. So they're really hard projects we've done. There's nothing necessarily visible on a tyre that can tell you he's running out of tyre or the driver's running out of tyre. So all these are challenges that we're just unable to do without technology, really.
Rob, how much data is too much data? Because obviously drivers will rely partly on data, but they also are going to rely on their intuition. I mean, this is a human sport at the end of the day.
You're the wrong person to ask me this, because you love it.
I'm an engineer, so there's never too much data.
Okay. I'll have you guys chime into it.
I want data, as an engineer, there's never too much data. We use those analytics to inform ourselves as to what decisions to make. and where, you know, this is why I think it's a breakthrough for Formula One is that we're giving the viewership now and the fan base, you know, that level of information, but we're using it to tell a story rather than to help make decisions. So I don't think that there's ever too much data, and you know, it's always something that can be ignored as well. It's not something that you must use. If you don't find it as part of your viewing experience, it's augmenting your viewing experience, then it's something that can be ignored. But you know, going back to the whole that balance between the intuition, you know, of either the individual engineers or the collective engineers and the drivers themselves and the data, there has to be that blend, you know. Otherwise machines would, you know, we wouldn't have any people here in the paddock, you know. Machines would be doing everything. So what do we use analytics and machine learning for? We use it to augment the human intelligence. We use it to help us to make decisions as engineers, and we should be using it to help to augment the storytelling during a Formula One race. You know, all of that hidden stuff that Dean referred to that has just not been visible for years. All of that stuff which is the real hero shots of Formula One as a story unfolds around pit stops, or as, you know, as tyres degrade and as engineers and drivers have to make that intuitive experience and decisions. We're able to tell that now, and that's really, really key.
In terms of the partnership between Amazon Web Services and Formula One, we understand what the viewers and the drivers get out of big data, but what does Amazon Web Services get out of the partnership?
Sure. So what we find is that sports is a really good way to tell complex technology stories in a way that makes sense to a broader audience. So part of our business is helping out corporations to use technology to innovate more quickly. And so we're very inspired by the work that Formula One is doing. And if you strip it all down to the technology, they're taking lots of data, doing advanced analytics on it to help get insights to understand things better. So that's very applicable to companies that are building their websites and want personalized products, companies that have factories they want to run more efficiently, media companies trying to serve up personalization. So what we're hoping to do is to inspire a company on what they can do with data in their business to use AWS to help them innovate more quickly.